An interesting mystery. For the past decade, one of my local grocery stores rarely has any customers. How is it still in business? Maybe they have lots of online sales with delivery. Might be a money laundry operation and everything in between. It's clean and organized because the staff have nothing else to do. Lol, if they own the land, that explains a lot of it. Get a job there, film everything, make a YouTube series, profit. It just sounds like they have steady traffic and you don't see all of it. Ingles is a real estate company. Its coal and Originals relies on real estate holdings but sometimes leaves properties vacant for years. Their cash flow is so strong they can let empty lots and underperforming stores sit for years until they find the right buyer. They own 23 RDS of their stores, which is apparently unusual, and are the 30th largest landowners in America. Hey, I can actually sorta answer this one. Worked at Ingles for 7 years, just about every role except the big boy management roles. Multiple locations too. Simple answer, they make a lot of money through their superstores they have out in the more small city big town areas. Mostly because there's hardly any competition in those areas. They also have pretty good margins on their produce-me deli items. Most of it is locally sourced and they can turn a profit fairly easy through that. As far as throwing food out, they actually have a smaller chain where they send food close to expiration and heavily discount it. I'm talking steaks that used to be 14 lb down to like 3. I forget the name of those stores. But growing up, that's where my family always shopped. There's also the note that Publix, Kroger, etc. only recently started moving into the Ingles territory within the last 10 years, since they all had a sorta gentleman's agreement not to move on each other's territory. Once Bob Ingley died, that went away and everyone started going everywhere. But Ingles already had its established name and brand in these more rural Appalachia areas, so they've been able to make it last so far. TLDR. Name recognition and establishing good locations keeps the company on its feet. My FIL who was in account said these places are always money laundering operations. Maybe they got a core group of shoppers that frequently buy their groceries from this spot. Smart and Final right here is the same way. Good weekly deals on produce and meat with loss leaders and still no more than 5 people in there. Also the biggest selection I've seen from a Smart and Final. If it is in a shopping center and they own the shopping center, it's likely related to the leases of the tenants. They probably have guaranteed their store would stay open in return for higher rent, meaning the other tenants are actually paying the bills. Not uncommon in scenarios where the anchor owns the center, especially if it's in a desirable location. It's also busier when you don't notice. There are some places like this in my town. On weekdays I'm only shopping for things after 5 p.m. So on days that I take off I get surprised seeing these places that are, to me, dead packed out at times of the day when I would normally be at work. Why don't you ask them? Buy something at the store and, when checking out, ask the cashier, looks kind of dead in here, when do you guys get busy? Follow up with more questions from there. A bored checkout clerk might tell you everything. I think a business needs to be busy for money laundering, so it could be a front for something else. Go undercover, bro. Get a job there. Find out if it's a drug laundering op or headquarters for a satanic cult. Think of the YouTube views. Money laundering? Well, I'm sure it's not at all like one of those mafia laundromats. Well, as long as he's smart about it and says he volunteered out of the group of people that were wondering, make sure that they know that there's a group of people involved with him. Is it owned by a chap called Truman? There's a grocery store near me like this. The next grocery store is a 15-minute drive away. It's not a mom-and-pop grocery, it's an IGA. Their prices are crazy high. They've an extensive deli, burrito bar, salad bar, butcher, bakery, sushi counter, florist, BBQ samples every day. A liquor store. In my state you can't buy liquor from a grocery store, bank, and ACE hardware. There is no way on earth they turn a profit. They even have heaps of plants, flowers, and vegetables outside that never get watered. All summer I've watched them die. Just recently they are 50 off. They are all dead. Nobody is going to buy them even at 50 off. They got a whole new shelf of terracotta pots that they put next to the old shelf of terracotta pots that are bleached from being in the sun for a year. I have a feeling in the big scheme of things they are subsidized for being the only grocery store within a 15-minute drive and/or a lost tax write-off and/or money laundering. Just today I went to get sour cream and I found 10 sour creams that expired in August. Product does not move through that store. For years there was a high street wedding dress shop that I never once saw a customer in. I used to joke that they must be money laundering for the mafia. One day it has changed into a stationer's. Never found out what it was all about, but it predated online. A couple of miles away is a cycle shop on the outskirts of a large town. It is tacky and run down. Never seems to be open, yet has a single light bulb lit, hanging down with no shade. Beats me the story for them. I fantasize it's a family estate argument or a guy who died and paid all his bills on direct debit. He'll probably never know. Real estate holdings. They own buildings and shopping centers, so they make money from that portfolio, and less from their actual stores. Sears was the same way for many years. It's how they kept from going bankrupt and were able to refinance their attempts at a comeback many times over. Many retailers own real estate and use those properties to help control their profits on the retail side. There are now laws against dynamic rent pricing from owned real estate assets to control profits on public companies, but private companies still do it all the time.